For this painted project, I am going to take 3 of my tiny hoops. These are just embroidery hoops. And I am going to, they are the 4-inch hoops. I'm going to lay them out on my muslin. This is just a natural color. I'm not sure what the weave is. It has the little speckles. This is my favorite. I like working with Osnaburg also. And we are going to cut a square of this muslin out. I'm going to cut it in a square on purpose and put it in the hoop. And then I'm going to take these 3 pieces of scrap felt and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut the size of the hoop out of each color. This is going to be the backing. And then I have a cardboard box and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lay the hoop on there and measure it on the back because this is going to be the backing for the hoop. Just to save time, what I did is I took 1 embroidery hoop. This is the 4-inch hoop, and I laid it on top of the smallest piece of felt that I had. And I went from the smallest to the medium to the largest, as you can see. All right. So I laid the hoop on there. I do not need to trace around the hardware, so the hardware can stick off of the felt a little bit. That's fine. Just make sure the hoop is centered enough on the felt so you can draw a circle around it, which I've already done. It's very faint, but you can see that circle right there. And to save time, I stacked the felt on each other. That way, all I have to do is trace one time and then cut this out, and then all 3 hoops, the backings, will be cut out at the same time. All right, so I just wanted to let you know that the items I'm using can be recycled items that you have. Don't go out and buy fabric. If you already have fabric, and especially a neutral color, or maybe a solid like from Ultrine Blue Jeans, definitely use that type of fabric. This is the scrap fabric I had left from another project. And then I am using cardboard from a cardboard box that I received in the mail. So I'm recycling that. And the felt, this is the felt from the big box stores, and I think I paid maybe 30 cents a sheet, maybe even less than that. But again, and it was leftovers from my daughter's sewing project. So I've already cut out the 3 circles of felt. I did the same thing with the cardboard that I had. Again, this was just from a box of mail. And now I'm going to cut squares of fabric larger than my hoop. So, you know, I'm not really measuring the squares. I just want to make sure that I have enough fabric to go into the hoop and fold over, because I am going to adhere this painting to the cardboard and the felt back. So just to make sure I had enough scrap fabric to paint on, I went ahead and put all of my hoops in that scrap piece of fabric. And you can see I have plenty of room now to cut these apart. So I have a square for each hoop. It's hard to do with one hand. Now I have my 3 hoops. I am now ready to sketch my design on each hoop. I need to paint the backgrounds first. And then once the paint dries, I will sketch my design. I went ahead and painted the backgrounds, and I like the blend of colors. It looks almost like sand. It's a good neutral, and once it dries, it'll be a little more vivid. But what I used was the Folk Art Extreme Glitter Hologram. I used the all-purpose textile medium, and some Crafter's Closet Acrylic Gold Metallic Paint. I mixed it in my bowl, added a little water to my paintbrush, and just painted this on. And now I'm going to let these dry for this maybe 24 hours. So I've already taken the pages out of this book, and I'll cover this fine. It's nice and roughed up, but in this project it's not going to matter. Now it is ripped a little bit. You can see that's all right because it'll be covered. So I'm going to measure so you know. This is 14 inches wide open. So we're going to measure the book cover while it's open. All right. And we need to measure the length of it, which is, let's see here, about 9 3/4 inches. And if we do centimeters, let me see if that, let me line it up. Here we go. I'll line it up, and it is 23.5 centimeters. All right. So that's what we have here.
It's on.
All right. So I'm going to use, don't move, I'll do the moving. These 3 acrylic paints, bright yellow, aqua sky, and fuchsia. And I am going to use the textile medium. And this is the piece of muslin that I cut earlier in the video. What I did is I took an old plastic container and I put a little drop of each paint on here. And the little white spots, I added a little of the textile medium. I've already put some water on my muslin, and I just have it propped up on an old plastic shoebox container. And this is where you get to be creative and do whatever you want with your paint.
Oh, I like that.
Thank you.
Because the blue's my favorite.
And you don't have to go to the edges because the edges are going to be tucked into the book cover. I'm just going to get a little bit more water to dilute my acrylic paint. I don't put it on thick, and it still dries pretty vividly, so don't let this fool you. Once this dries, I let it dry for about, I don't know, 24 hours, depending on the temperature of your house. And once it's completely dry, that's when I start to hand stitch. I don't think that you can actually really mess this project up. All I did was just put some water in my brush. And now I'm going to go over it and add the color as I like. You can do the same thing. I noticed when using the acrylic paints on this muslin, if you add some water to it, to thin the paint out, it adheres to the fabric a lot better. Again, that's your prerogative. You can do whatever works for you. All right, so you really don't have to watch me the rest of this. I'm gonna finish it.